So thanks, David, for organizing this meetup. It's always good. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak here. So Decisions on Demand is a new startup. We are right now in private beta with our product. We'll have it live on the App Exchange in the next couple of weeks before Dreamforce. And my goal here is to give you a sneak preview of the product, get your feedback, and we're also actively looking for opportunities to pilot this product in real customer situations. So any that you have that you feel might be applicable, please come and see me afterwards. So what we do is we do business rules for Salesforce and also for other SaaS platforms, but we do it in a way that's more business user friendly, easier to manage than the rules that are in Salesforce. So let's get right to a demonstration. We have basically two main aspects to our product. One is one centralized place where you can manage your business rules, or we call them business policies in this context. And then we have an easy way for business users to edit those business rules through a spreadsheet-based interface without having to go into the bowels of Salesforce configuration and play around with the setup or call the IT or the administrator to do that work for them. Because one of the big pain points in managing your Salesforce implementation is this back and forth between business and IT, a lot of communication breakdowns, a lot of time spent on both sides trying to formulate requirements, understand requirements that maybe not be perfectly formulated, erroneous implementations. All this takes a lot of time and often for very routine changes. So that's what we want to overcome. So let's take a simple lead assignment example, and I'll walk you through how using our product you'll manage lead assignment rules. So this is it's a demo sample, so it's fairly simple, but there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of potential or a lot of ways in the system to make this more comprehensive and also adapted to specific requirements, specific customizations of your Salesforce org. So what you see here is our a part of our app, the business policy or business rules management page, where you see a number of policies that have been defined. We have lead assignment, we have case assignment. We have notifications around leads, and we have pricing rules for quotes. So as I mentioned, we're going to go and take a look at the lead assignment rules. So one of the key things is that we want to make this management of business rules accessible to business users. That means that they can make changes and deploy them themselves, but that comes with responsibilities. If you deploy the wrong policies to the system, you can make a lot of trouble and cause damage. So it's key to have a governance and a management system around that. So that's what you see here. Each policy has multiple versions. You can download each version of the policy, so you can see exactly what it was at a given point in time. You can switch the active policy back and forth. You can see when changes were made, who they were made by, and why. So there's a full tracking around the life cycle of your business policies. So let's take a look at the spreadsheet and what that concretely looks like. So this would be a lead assignment spreadsheet. A couple of things to note. Firstly, basically it maps, columns in the spreadsheet map to the attributes, the fields of your Salesforce objects. And the system will go through row by row and try to find the first row that matches your particular lead. And then based on that, assign that lead to the queue that's listed on the right. But you can do a number of things that you wouldn't be able to easily do within Salesforce. One of them is the region field here. There's no region by default in Salesforce, but often leads are routed not on individual countries but on entire regions. So trying to implement that in Salesforce would force you to create custom fields and kind of pollute your model just for the purpose of making this particular decision. So we allow you to do that outside of Salesforce in our tool, through something as simple as just a list of countries to region mapping here. Other things like routing based on area code. As you know, there's phone numbers, of course, in Salesforce, but there's no area code field, so if you wanted to route based on an area code, it would be kind of tricky. Same thing for email domain names. And these are relevant ways to separate out leads, for example, that are in the government space, that you might want to route to a different set of salespeople than leads that are for commercial entities. Thresholds on annual revenue you can set if you want to, industry, and as I mentioned, this is just a subset of the fields that would be available. You can add more and add the custom fields that you've added to your Salesforce org as well. So before we actually make a change to that, let's go back and see it in action. So let's take a look at this lead here, which is in the technology space. It's in Seattle, Washington. Annual revenue 75 million. So based on that, we would expect it to be routed to this mid-size West Coast queue because it falls between this 30 million and 250 million threshold. And there's no other, it's in Washington. It's one of those three, and no other reasons to route it anywhere else. So invoking the business rules engine, which is residing on a cloud-based platform outside of Salesforce, you can do that in several ways. You can do it using a custom button. You can do it using a batch process or using a trigger. And you see that it's assigned the lead here to the right queue. So let's go and change the business policy. So the way we do that is simply by editing the spreadsheet. So what we're going to do is raise the threshold for what's considered small. So now anything between 0 and 100 million is going to go to this NA small queue, which should match the characteristics of the lead that we just saw. So we're going to save this spreadsheet. Okay, and we're going to upload it into our server through the Salesforce API. So spreadsheets, are obviously a format that business users are really familiar with. So nobody's going to be afraid of editing this format. Has a couple of other good characteristics. One is they're really easy to share. I mean, you can just email them around. You can discuss on Chatter about this business policy very easily. You can do bulk data copying into the spreadsheet format very easily. So it's a very convenient interface to manipulate. So you see now I've created a new version here. The audit trail records are assigned. It's correctly assigned to my name. And demo goals willing, when I assign this policy again, it should assign it now to a different queue. And there we go. It's now assigned to the NA small queue. So this is all you need to do to change a business policy. Very much business user accessible. What's more, we also have audit trails associated with the individual record. So every time a policy is called, you get a note. So this is an optional thing. You can toggle it off if you want to. But it allows you to see quite a lot of detail about the policy. What policy was called, which version. There's a unique ID that you can go back and track. If you have any problems with this policy, you can figure out in more detail, communicate with IT as to what happened if it wasn't done correctly, and you see exactly which rows in the spreadsheet were fired, which region row, which lead assignment row, so you can really, if need be, kind of dig down into what happened. So that's in a nutshell, what we do. So lead assignment is one example of the kind of policy that you could use our tool for. but there are other use cases, pricing, notifications, creating tasks, approvals and escalations, and many more. So they're basically all the cases where Salesforce uses rules pretty much, except for some of the kind of the low-level validation doesn't really apply so well. But everything else we could cover also, and there are other more specific cases like eligibility, product eligibility, warranty eligibility, those kind of things that are not out of the box supported, and that we could deal with as well. So that's the overview of the product. I'd be happy to talk a little bit more about the architecture aspect, but first, I wanted to ask if there are any questions at this stage.
Yeah, so if you created a view in Salesforce, does that export the Excel spreadsheet for you?
Created a view?
So if you've already created your rules in Salesforce and you now want to use this tool instead, does your tool export the Excel spreadsheet from Salesforce?
No, not at this stage, no.
So how do you build the spreadsheet?
Well, we have a set of templates that we will provide along with the product that you get started with for the standard objects and the standard fields. And for customizations, we can work with customers to add additional fields and special functionality that's not available across the board. So we'll provide, along with the templates, some extensions like the area code routing, the domain name routing. And we'll be extending these templates as we gather more use cases. So the standard set of templates that come with the product will continually get enriched based on usage. So you can take one of the standard templates and basically remove things that you don't need, or hide things that you don't need, so that you can only focus on the attributes that are actually relevant to you. If you leave things empty, they basically will not be taken into account. If there are more in-depth customizations that you need done, you can either work with us or one of the partners that we're recruiting to deliver this product to make those customizations. So typically, customizations range from very simple, just adding a custom field, which can be done very quickly, to more complex. If you want to integrate with NetSuite or something like that, there's an API that allows you to do that. As you see here, kind of the back end of the product is outside of Salesforce and is accessible through a REST API. So it can be integrated also with other platforms, not just Salesforce. Right now, our main focus is on Salesforce. So we have the App Exchange app, which makes all that totally seamless and gives you the UI level integration, and also the Apex and the Visualforce level components that make it easy to plug into Salesforce environment. But integration with other platforms is also an option if it's required. Any other questions? Well then, I guess we're going to be done early, which I'm sure you're very sad about. But let me just wrap up then. Why do we do this? One, allow people to move faster, get rid of this unnecessary back and forth between business and IT. If you have to have that interaction, let it be about something that actually produces value, not routine changes that only add delays to the process if you can do it in a simpler way. So you're reducing the overhead, the IT overhead. Either if you have your in-house IT, they can be doing something more useful. If you bring in external IT, you can do less of that and save you some money. The governance and compliance, in the initial version of the product, that's already available, but we plan on building out much more around that. You can do a lot of things once you have this engine in place around A/B testing, simulation, kind of really validating what the impact of your policies would be before you deploy them. If you try to do governance around business policies in Salesforce, you end up with a fairly heavy-duty software development lifecycle with change sets and all those kind of things. which really puts it 100% in the IT space. Here you can do that for these simple business policies in a really lightweight way. The collaboration aspect, being able to share those rules, being able to see what the actual business policy is in the format that is really going to be implemented also is big, because it allows you to talk with many more people about it, share, get feedback, understand how it could be better, and make sure everybody is on the same page as to what's actually being implemented. And having an easier way to do automation also makes it possible to do more automation, things that you might not have gotten to because you just didn't have the resources, or it seemed too daunting to get into it. Now you can take some of those decision points that are not pre-baked into Salesforce and automate them in a very similar way to things like lead assignments. So it allows you to do more automation and thereby streamline your business operations. All right, well, thank you for your time. Yeah.
One more question. So a reasonably competent administrator, would they be able to create their own Excel spreadsheet and use it with custom objects on Salesforce through your engine? Or would the engine need to be customized?
It's in between the two. So the engine will not need to be customized. The configuration that's associated with that spreadsheet would need to be created. And that's something that in this initial phase we would need to do, or one of our partners would need to do. So setting up that decision point, if it's not predefined template, is in our, outside of the scope of the customer initially. Like I said, reducing the columns, selecting things that are not, or removing things that are not required, that's what a regular user, a regular customer could do. But no, initial customers will definitely bend over backwards to do some of that work and make sure that the first customers are successful. So we're totally committed to getting some traction around this and building up a better or a more complete collection of templates and making sure that whoever tries this out is successful with the product. All right, any additional questions? Good, well, thank you very much then.